The sun beat down mercilessly on the ancient city of Eridu, baking the mud-brick houses and shimmering off the calm surface of the Euphrates. Beneath the watchful gaze of a pantheon of deities, a young man named Adapa cast his net into the river. Unlike the other fishermen, his brow wasn't furrowed with worry. His face instead held an air of quiet serenity. Adapa wasn't just a man, he was an Apalu, a chosen one, a bridge between the divine and the human. Legends whispered of times before the Great Flood, a golden age ruled by god kings and guided by wise Apalu like Adapa. They nurtured humanity, bringing knowledge and the arts, laying the foundations of civilization. Adapa served the great Ea, the god of wisdom and the deep. Every day, with hands cleansed by ritual, he prepared offerings, the finest bread, the choicest cuts of meat, and the freshest water for the cult of Ea. Even the mighty fish of the river couldn't resist his lure, a testament to his connection with the divine. One fateful day, as Adapa sailed his small boat, a storm of unimaginable fury erupted. A monstrous south wind, howling like a banshee, slammed into his vessel, tossing it like a leaf in a hurricane. Flung overboard, Adapa clung to a piece of driftwood, the churning water threatening to swallow him whole. Fear, raw and primal, gripped him. In that moment of desperation, a primal rage erupted within him. He cursed the wind, his voice a defiant roar against the tempest. And just like that, silence. The wind, crippled by his curse, ceased to blow. The storm clouds parted, revealing a sky as clear and unnaturally still as a tomb. Relief washed over Adapa, quickly replaced by a gnawing unease. Something wasn't right. The world felt suffocating in the unnatural stillness. The silence reached the heavens, disturbing the great god Anu, the stern ruler of the cosmos. Intrigued by the sudden cessation of the wind, he peered down upon the world. His gaze fell upon Adapa, clinging precariously to his driftwood. Annoyance flickered on Anu's face. A mortal daring to disrupt the very forces of nature. This demanded a response. An unsettling summons echoed through the very air, reaching Adapa even amidst the wreckage of his boat. Terror coursed through him. A mortal summoned to the celestial court. It was a rare and potentially perilous occurrence. Panic gnawed at him, but a deep-seated faith in Ea, his patron god, kept him from succumbing to despair. Knowing the dangers of the heavenly realm, Ea sprung into action. He appeared before Adapa in a vision, his face etched with concern. "Anu has summoned you," Ea said, his voice grave, "but the ways of the gods are not for mortals. Fear not, I shall guide you." Ea instructed Adapa to appear before Anu in mourning garb, with a disheveled appearance, a gesture of humility. He also warned Adapa to refuse any food or drink offered in the heavens, for these were not meant for mortals and could lead to death. With a heavy heart, Adapa ascended to the celestial court. The journey was long and arduous, filled with swirling mists and blinding light. Finally, he stood before the imposing gates of Anu's palace. Two imposing figures, Dumuzi and Gishsida, the gatekeepers, glared down at him. Perplexed by his ragged clothes and disheveled hair, they demanded to know his business. Adapa, following Ea's instructions, bowed low and mumbled a cryptic explanation about a storm and a curse. The gatekeepers, intrigued by this strange mortal, decided to intercede on his behalf. They ushered him into the grand court, where Anu sat upon a throne of glistening obsidian. The air crackled with a tension so thick it was almost suffocating. Adapa, heart pounding in his chest, knelt before the mighty god. Anu, his gaze as cold as a winter's night, looked down at Adapa. A smirk played on his lips. He gestured towards two servants who bore a magnificent golden platter laden with exotic fruits and a goblet brimming with a shimmering liquid. "Rise," mortal Anu boomed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have faced the fury of nature and survived. Surely you must be famished and parched. Partake of this food and drink, a gift from the gods themselves." Suspense hung heavy in the air. Adapa hesitated, remembering Ea's warning. A wave of doubt washed over him. Was this a test? A trap? But the food looked so divine, the drink so inviting. Could he refuse such a generous gift from a god? The answer, And the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The scent of the unknown fruit wafted through the opulent court, teasing Adapa's senses. His stomach rumbled, a stark reminder of his ordeal at sea. Thirst gnawed at his throat. Yet, Ea's words echoed in his mind, a chilling refrain: these are not meant for mortals. Adapa's gaze darted between the tempting food and the unreadable face of Anu. The air crackled with unspoken threats. Refusal could be seen as disrespect, perhaps even defiance, towards the highest god. But accepting the gifts could lead to his demise. Sweat beaded on Adapa's brow as he forced himself to speak. His voice trembled, but his resolve held firm. "Most magnificent Anu," he stammered, "I am deeply grateful for your hospitality. However, my Lord Ea, in his infinite wisdom, prepared offerings for my journey. I wouldn't want to offend the gods by appearing to doubt his foresight." Anu's smirk vanished, replaced by a frown that sent shivers down Adapa's spine. "Ea seems to be overly cautious," the god rumbled. "Surely a taste of these divine delicacies wouldn't hurt you." Adapa's mind raced. Was this a test of his loyalty to Ea, or was Anu genuinely offering him a gift of unimaginable power? He knew little of the customs of the celestial court, and the consequences of a wrong move could be dire. He cast his gaze down at his calloused hands, worn from years of service to Ea. "Forgive me, Anu," he pleaded, "but my heart belongs to the god who has guided me all my life. To partake in anything less than his offering would feel disrespectful." A tense silence descended upon the court. Dumuzi and Gishida, the gatekeepers, exchanged nervous glances. They had never seen a mortal so boldly defy a god, yet there was a quiet dignity in his defiance. Anu's eyes narrowed. A flicker of something akin to grudging respect flickered in their depths. Finally he spoke, his voice calmer but no less powerful. "Very well, Adapa," he conceded. "You have shown both wisdom and loyalty. However, your actions have unforeseen consequences." Anu gestured towards Adapa, who braced himself for the worst. But instead of unleashing his wrath, the god sighed. "You have disrupted the natural order," Anu explained. "The wind will return, but you, Adapa, shall forever remain mortal." A wave of confusion washed over Adapa. He had expected punishment, not a pronouncement. "But the food and drink," he stammered, "wouldn't that have granted me immortality?" A sad smile played on Anu's lips. Indeed, it would have, he confirmed. "But your loyalty to Ea has blinded you to a greater truth. The food and drink were not just sustenance, but a choice between a life that ends but is rich with experience and growth, and an existence that stretches on forever, but remains stagnant." Adapa's mind reeled. He had inadvertently chosen mortality, not out of fear but out of devotion. A bitter taste filled his mouth, a mix of disappointment and acceptance. He had walked a tightrope between the divine and the human, and in doing so sealed the fate of all mankind. With a heavy heart, Adapa bowed low. "Thank you, Anu," he whispered, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. He had saved his own life, but at the cost of condemning his entire race. Anu dismissed him with a wave of his hand. Dumuzi and Gishida, looking at him with a newfound respect, escorted Adapa back through the celestial gates. As he descended back to earth, he felt the familiar caress of the wind on his face. The storm had passed, but a storm brewed within him. Adapa returned to Eridu a changed man. He carried the weight of a universe on his shoulders, the knowledge that his actions had shaped the destiny of humanity. He continued to serve Ea faithfully, but the weight of his choice hung heavy, a constant reminder of the blurred lines between divine gifts and human folly. The legend of Adapa became a cautionary tale, a whisper on the wind, a reminder of the day a mortal dared to defy the gods, and in doing so, sealed the fate of all mankind.